Hello everyone, welcome along to the very first ever CILIP Scotland podcast. This podcast is going to be sharing news, information and other things going on with the CILIP Scotland organisation. So who are we? We are the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals in Scotland. We provide advocacy and campaigns for the library sector. We provide professional development for all our wonderful librarians across many different sectors, from school to academic to public libraries and many, many others. And we provide support for our 1,200 members all across Scotland. And as part of that, we want to share some of the fantastic things going on and discuss some of the hot topics in libraries, and that's what this podcast is going to do. So welcome along to the first episode, and we hope you enjoy it. My name's Sean McNamara. I am the head of CILIP Scotland. I've worked here for just over 10 years, and I lead on a lot of the strategy for the organisation and a lot of the plans for the different work streams that we do. And I'll now pass over to my colleagues who will introduce themselves as well.
Thank you, Sean. Hi, everyone. So my name is Kirsten Macquarie. I'm Membership Officer for CILIP Scotland. I haven't been here quite as long, maybe just coming up for 2.5 years. But of course, like many of you, I was a CILIP member before I joined the staff. So I help to represent, advocate for those 1,200 members across all our regional branches and our special interest groups, assisted by our wonderful graduate trainee, Leah.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Leah Higgins. I'm the graduate trainee for CILIP Scotland, and as Kirsten has mentioned, my role is really to provide support for a lot of the kind of ongoing activities and more specifically the communications for our membership across a lot of our social media channels. So now that you know the CILIP Scotland team, we would like to introduce our very special guest for this podcast episode. So hello, Jimi Mitchell. So thank you for coming along today and joining us. We're delighted to have you.
My absolute pleasure, Leah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is my honour to be on the inaugural CILIPS podcast. Wow.
Absolutely.
What a moment.
It is. It's a moment in time. So could you maybe give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, and your role here at the Sir Alex Ferguson Library at the Glasgow Caledonian University, which is a bit of a mouthful.
Indeed, yes. It is, and we say it every day, but you get used to it. I'm Jimi Mitchell. I'm a senior library administrator here at GCU, and I'm responsible for the front-facing service. So we're dealing with lots of different inquiries. Quite an interesting thing about GCU, already some hot topics. We are a kind of hybrid of academic. Obviously, we're part of a university, but we are a completely public building. So we see a lot of members of the public coming in, and that is a wonderful part of the job. So we get plenty of fascinating interactions, and that's always fun to deal with.
I can imagine. We are currently here at the podcast studio, which I believe you had a big hand in starting. So would you mind just giving us a brief kind of introduction to the podcast studio and how this came about?
Absolutely. This feels like very much my child. Weirdly, the idea actually came not long after I started working in GCU, like 7 years ago. Outside of this, I host a musical theatre podcast and have been very tapped into the podcasting world, and very quickly sort of realised, oh, hang on, there's a really big link here between podcasts and libraries. Podcasts are this wonderful collection of information, and hey, libraries are repositories of information. There didn't seem to be much talking between the two of them. And, if we're going to get really library technical here, even when you look at things like metadata standards, we love metadata, don't we? But there's just none for podcasts. And I was like, that's really interesting. So that kind of nugget just sat in my brain for a bit. And then we had the SLIC Innovation Development Fund come through. And I was like, hey, do you know what? The time is now. This was, I think, just after the pandemic. I applied for that. Thankfully, got it, which was fantastic. Yeah, just proceeded to build the place. A lot of it with my own two hands. Less of the building part, maybe. Yeah. Putting all the soundproofing on the walls, that was me. And yeah, basically the whole idea behind it is that it's an accessible space for anyone. Like I said before, here at GCU, we're open to, our students and staff, but also members of the public. And I wanted to make sure that the podcast studio was carried through with exactly that message. We are the university for the common good here, so the recording studio had to completely line up with that. Anyone can come and use it for free. There is no catch, I promise you. The only thing you need to do is complete an induction with us, which is It's nice and easy. You've all done it.
Yep, we have.
Painless, right?
Yep.
We've got our certificate up in the CILIPS office.
I should start doing certificates.
You should, yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, a wee wax seal as well.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Box thing there, right? So yeah, and I guess the great thing is, so we opened it back in April, and since then we've just seen lots of like really interesting different things. I had someone come in the other day who was like, so I'd quite like to record an album. And I was like, well, I guess it's possible. I was like, it's not really suitable for instruments, but maybe. And then he came in, he's like, no, I've done all my music, and he's created it all on GarageBand. He was like, I just need to do the vocals. I was like, well, yeah, that's perfect. And then he provided some of his raps for me, which were fantastic. It was a nice little intimate moment here in the studio. But yeah, you know, it really, the world's your oyster. A lot of it is going to be podcasts, and that's a lot of what we're seeing. But if you have some kind of interesting audio project in mind, come and speak to us, because yeah, we were really, really keen to hear it.
Absolutely, yeah, and yeah, so we'll turn up with a drum kit next time, or we'll just,
exactly. Listen, I'll try and make it work.
Band.
Yeah. Like to be flexible with these things. We've also got our first D&D podcast coming in soon, which I'm very excited about. That was really the main reason for for bringing that up. Yeah, and it's amazing to see it as a, you know, the space for common good, and you know, just even being in here today, you can see so much going on in the library. So it's a wonderful space to be, and this really sort of brings that together and has brought us in here. So that's really great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Talking more about yourself personally, Jimmy, so congratulations in order. You were recently selected as one of the new professionals on the CILIP 125 list. This list was in celebration of the 125th anniversary of CILIP's Royal Charter from Queen Victoria, and it was intended to introduce the next generation of professionals who will lead the sector into a new age. So CILIP members and colleagues were asked to nominate individuals within the profession to recognise and honour people in that new generation, and people who drive positive change, make a difference and have an impact across the various sectors that are represented within our membership. Other people on the list, you know, we were really, really delighted to see so much representation from Scotland. I think we had about 19 or 20 people on the list, from a list of 125. So if you think of the percentage of population in Scotland compared to the UK, that's like a little overrepresented, which is wonderful to see, and really testament to the professionals that we have. So other people were nominated for building relationships to support young people, for working, supporting and nurturing colleagues, campaigning for diversity and inclusivity, embracing new digital skills, and many more. What does it mean for you, Jimmy, and your career even to be recognised as somebody on that list?
Oh, honestly, it means so much. I think I keep going on about this all the time, but I still can't get over that it happened. And you know, because I'm relatively new in the profession. I started working here as a library assistant 7 years ago, and sort of realised very quickly that actually, hey, this is the thing that I'm passionate about. And I think a lot of people don't realise actually the work that libraries do until they kind of come and start working for a library. It really kind of opened my eyes, and in true Jimmy style, I've kind of thrown myself into everything and tried to do as much as possible. So yeah, to be recognised on the list was a deep, deep honour. And what beautiful medals you have. Yeah. Honestly, that beautiful I'm currently trying to work out the best way to like mount it and frame it somewhere. But
I did see someone on Twitter had put googly eyes on his. That's an option, you know, just saying.
Yeah, we'll consider that. But yeah, and like you say as well, to kind of share the place with so many people from Scotland, it does feel very good. And I think we know as CILIPS members how much great work goes on here, so it was so nice to see that.
Absolutely. We're lucky enough to be able to extend this question to our wonderful membership officer, Kirsten McQuarrie. Kirsten, your inclusion on the list came only a few short months after you had received your CILIP chartership. Can you share some of your reflections on being part of the list alongside your amazing chartered status?
Oh, thank you, Leah. And Brownie Guy promised that I did not nominate myself. And Jimmy's right, the medals are gorgeous. People know that I lead in our programme CILIPS Go Green, which is all about sustainability in libraries. Beautiful, sustainable slate medals, which somehow we will get an image to you. If you head to the CILIPS Instagram, you'll be able to glimpse them in all their glory. But yeah, it was an absolute honour and wonderful surprise to see myself on the list amongst really the kind of leading lights of the future of Scotland's libraries. The list is just filled with such richness, such diversity as well. Every corner of Scotland, every sector, professionals across all backgrounds just leading the way with such brilliant innovation. Jimmy and his podcast studio are a wonderful example of that. I think what's especially exciting for me, and particularly now as I step forward into chartered status, is actually how, looking at the professionals on the list, how they encourage me to reflect on not just where library leadership is going, but what library leadership means. We're seeing such exciting ideas. I mean, the principle of the common good and the impact that that's had here. A perennial source of inspiration for me are library leaders like Amina Shah, our wonderful immediate past president, Adele Patrick from Glasgow Women's Library as well. And it's so exciting to see these concepts of sustainability, creativity, compassion, collaboration emerging into the future of what library leadership looks like. And Jimmy, you yourself are a wonderful example of that. So very honoured to be beside you on the CILIP 125 list.
Equally honoured here.
Yet another honour that we're celebrating with you earlier this year was the fact that you were also shortlisted for Scotland's Library and Information Professional of the Year 2023, and that nomination was grounded in no small part with the incredible impact that you're having here at the Sir Alex Ferguson Library. As an award shortlistee, you were also given the opportunity to attend CILIPS 23, our annual conference in Dundee. So I'll be sharing snippets shortly about what our other delegates thought of the conference, but perhaps can you share with our listeners how the experience was for you as a new professional?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, continuing to be humbled by all these nominations. No, it was so great. And I love going to conferences, and it's not just for the free food, I promise.
Which was pretty good and all vegetarian friendly.
Genuinely incredible, some of the best I've had. It's just so great engaging with other people in the sector. And obviously, being from an academic library, normally it's just academic folk that I'm networking with, but it was so great at the CILIPS 23 to just meet the full spectrum and find out all of these different incredible experiences and hearing everyone's different approaches to the sector. It was really, really eye-opening and so many ideas, which was incredible. But it's funny you mentioned Amina. I think when Amina spoke with the other past presidents, I feel like I could listen to her all day, every day, and leave feeling the most inspired and ready to take on the world. It was such an incredible discussion, and I think so many of my colleagues that were there as well felt the exact same, with just feeling really uplifted and excited about the sector, which was great because we know it's currently not the easiest. I think that really, I don't know, it kind of cemented to me like, no, we're doing the right work here and we have to keep pushing forward and advocating for ourselves. I know we say it a lot, but that is really the key takeaway from that was advocate for yourself in your sector. Absolutely.
So finally, Jimmy, have you got any advice for us new to the podcasting world?
Oh, listen, I think you're nailing it. I would say the main thing is have fun. Listen, it's a fun medium. I'm really, really excited to see all of the different people that you'll no doubt be getting on and hearing, like, say, from this huge, broad sector that we have and some of the key voices in Scotland. I'm very excited about it. I hope the listeners are too.
Yes. Subscribe, yes.
Exactly. Wherever you get your podcast. That's the line. You'll just need to
so like wherever this ends up going, in the cloud somewhere probably.
Yes, well, thank you to anyone who's found it, and certainly if you do have an idea of something you'd like us to discuss or anything, then we will be giving you some information at the end about how you can get in touch. Perhaps you could become a guest on here or suggest a topic or anything else. We really want this to be member-led, like so much that we do, so please do get in touch with us. Mainly, I wanted to say thank you so much to Jimi Mitchell, CILIP 125 recipient and nominee for Library and Information Professional of the Year, for joining us. It was really, really appreciated you giving us your time today, Jimmy, and providing the induction and help with this space as well. We're really delighted to hear that the future innovation and dedication of the sector is in the hands of such brilliant new professionals. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much. Honestly, a pleasure.
Before we wrap up this first episode of the CILIP Scotland podcast, we wanted to share some of the other things that have been going on or we have coming up. One of the things that seems, a little bit in the back distance now, but actually isn't that long ago, and still very much, I think we're all just still coming down from all the excitement, was the aforementioned CILIP Scotland conference. We celebrated another fantastic conference, this time with the theme of looking to the future. And that's a theme that we really think is important, going into the next few few years of different challenges with libraries, I think it's very important that we do think about where libraries are positioned in the future, and I think the conference really kicked off that discussion really well. We welcome delegates from all over the UK to come together and learn about the future of our incredible sector. Kirsten has done a brilliant job of compiling all of the delegate feedback. So Kirsten, do you want to share some of the reflections that people had in case anyone wasn't able to join us?
Absolutely, Sean. This is always a treat. What an incredible 48 hours the conference was. And as we get our delegate feedback flowing in, it's just wonderful to see the impact. I think Jimmy really encapsulated it earlier, how the themes resonate with hearts as well as minds, and looking to the future really did have the most profound positive impact. I cannot fit into this episode all the wonderful comments from our delegates, but I'll do my best to highlight a few. And if we had £1 for every time somebody called it inspiring, we'd have enough to fund next year's conference. So that maybe gives you a glimpse. But what people were really drawn to was the wonderful collaborative atmosphere. And some people noted that there was a willingness to tackle the big subjects without ever losing a hopeful outlook. And Jimmy mentioned the wonderful past presidential panel discussion that we had with Amina Shah, with Cleo Jones and Martina McChrystal. That is on YouTube. In fact, all our keynotes and many of our parallel sessions are on the CILIPS YouTube channel, so you can find that via our website, or do subscribe to that too, so that you don't miss out and get a sense of what the conference is like. I think we've also touched on the sustainability aspects of the conference, and that really resonated well with our delegates. As Leah mentioned, our menu went veggie, almost entirely vegan in fact, as part of our commitment to reducing the carbon footprint of our in-person events, or rather increasing the carbon handprint. I've come across this term recently, and it's actually a sort of positive framing of the positive impact that libraries can have on environmental action, and the conference that was very much apparent, so people really loved. We had a car sharing scheme for delegates, we signposted to electric car charging points, we had our first exclusively digital programme which delegates really responded well to, as well as carbon captured name badges. The conference swag bags are always especially popular with delegates, and there were some eco treats in there. I'd also like to highlight the fact that one piece of feedback that came through to us recently from CILIPS West Branch, where we are today, was actually, it was a broad blog written entirely in Scots. We're first in Scots for the website. This was by the writer Thomas Clark, who was also recipient of CILIPS West Branch's sponsored place at CILIPS 23. And his blog, The Toty Wee Miracles That String Together Library Life, is now on our website. So please do give that a look. It's well worth it. And I think just, yes, from accessibility, from sustainability, from collaboration, from creativity, the seeds of Libraries Week and everything that's to come in the second half of the year were very much planted at CILIPS 23.
Absolutely, and we'll not be long before we start planning our CILIPS 24, and that'll be coming up in Dundee next year. We won't think about it too much just now. Yeah. All I'll say is, if you are listening to this and you have a project that you'd like to share, an idea that you'd like to highlight, do get in touch with us. We'd always be really keen to either put that in the conference programme, or via our online learning and other things is a great way to highlight ideas. As I've said before, it's all about what members are doing, and we want to really shine a light on as much as that as possible. And in fact, actually, just now, to bring this first CILIPS podcast episode to a close, I'd like to do a quick fire round of some of the events that are coming up on the CILIPS calendar. We run a lot of online learning events. We also have our branches and groups who run various events. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things coming up, and then pass over to Leah and Kirsten to highlight some others. First one I'd like to highlight is the LocScot Lookout event with local history specialist group LocScot and the brilliant students and new professionals community. This takes place on the 21st of September, and the groups would like to invite any student who's passionate about history and has completed their dissertation or course placement on a local history topic to tell us all about it. What did you learn? What techniques did you use? What can others gain from it? And what impact should it have on library users? Share all of this within a 3-minute Zoom presentation in front of the LocScot Lookout expert jury. A fantastic opportunity to build your professional network and enhance your CV. So that, like all our events, is available on the CILIPS website. Look under events, www.cilips.org.uk. click events, and you'll see the full list. Just a very quick other shout out, there's a load, we've literally got multiple events every week coming up over September and October. We won't go over them all, but another one I'd just very briefly like to highlight is Dr. David McMenemy, a recipient of the 2022 CILIPS Research Fund, is going to be launching the Reveal project. Now, this is reinforcing ethics and values for effective advocacy for libraries. It's full of information about the ethics and values of the profession and how that ties in to advocacy and the challenges of today's library world, whether that be around censorship or other challenges that are going on at the moment. So that'll be a really, really interesting hour and a half. So that's on the 11th of October if anyone would like to join. We also have bigger events. I'm now going to just pass over to Leah, who's going to tell you a bit more about one of our slightly longer events that's coming up.
So next we have the Scotland's Green Library Gathering for Scotland's Climate Week 2023. Please join us on the 29th of September as we celebrate 2 years of our pioneering programme CILIPS Go Green with our online Green Libraries Gathering, filled with inspiring opportunities for Green Libraries champions in LIS to collaborate, connect and reflect on library-led environmental action. In this full-day event, we will hear updates from our Green Libraries Scotland Grant Fund recipients, as well as sustainability initiatives from Glasgow Women's Library, Scottish Book Trust and more. So now I'll pass along to Kirsten to tell you about some other fantastic events.
Yes, we have really been planting the seeds for exciting events in the second half of the year because Libraries Week is also going green. So Libraries Week, as I'm sure many of you know, is our annual showcase and celebration of the best that libraries have to offer. Each year we pick a theme and explore the innovative and surprising things that libraries are doing to support their communities. And this year it's Green Libraries Week. So we've got our famous Library 5 challenge going on with a new creative and sustainable challenge for our members to get involved with, and social media takeovers too, which have become something of a CILIPS tradition. So if you're eager to hear yet more from Jimmy and his team here, you are in luck. That's a little spoiler alert. Please also join us for our annual Libraries Week quiz, which is also going green. That's on the 3rd of October, and you could become the ultimate green champion. So last year our brilliant branches just pipped our spectacular special interest groups to the post, but it's all to play for in 2023. We also have a range of library visits coming up and the CILIPS Library Litter Pick. So wherever you are in Scotland or indeed around the world, on the afternoon of Friday the 6th of October, you can join us as we encourage communities to clean up their act and get stuck in with library-led sustainable living. So don't be green with envy. Be sure to book your place for any and all of these great upcoming events. We would love to see you there. As Sean says, you can find the booking pages for them all by going to the CILIPS website. That's www.cilips.org.uk and navigating to the events tab. They're all free, online and open to all CILIP members. And with that, I think all that's left to say is thank you for listening to this landmark inaugural CILIPS podcast episode. We hope we were able to provide you with some motivation for the future of this wonderful sector. As we've been saying throughout, if you would like to feature on an episode of the podcast or you have an idea or an event to share with us, we really can't wait to hear from you. So please reach out. You can contact us by email and social media. We'll include the details in the show notes, which the technical term, isn't it, Leah? But yes, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Until next time.